muscle testing is the primary method that I use to assess health and to find suitable treatment methods and herbal products to relieve the problem. And so we're going to be forced to talk about muscle testing a little bit before we go on. Let me tell you that just taking this course will not make you a muscle tester. Guess what? You have to practice, 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 practice. And even then, some people can't get it. But how many believe that it has really helped you to be able to muscle test? Let's see your hand. Wow, do you see that? Okay, so it looks like we've got highly experienced, knowledgeable people in our group. And if you do not know how to muscle test, it is certainly well worth your time to learn, as is testified by all of your colleagues here in the class. Okay, what is muscle testing anyway? This is my own definition, and you know, it's not perfect, but maybe it'll do for a while. Muscle testing, otherwise known as applied kinesiology, is the science of determining psychological, physiological, and spiritual facts about a person known by that person's subconscious mind by detecting the difference in energy supplied by the brain to one of the person's muscles. And so basically what we're doing is we are using a muscle in the client's body to act as our detector system to give us a window into what that person's subconscious mind knows about themselves. And they may not necessarily know this consciously, but their subconscious mind knows this and can respond to the muscle testing. And then if you have skill in constructing muscle testing test statements, you can find out almost anything you want to know about the person that you're trying to help. Okay, let's explain. If you do this very much, you're going to need to know how to explain what you're doing to other people. Otherwise, they will think you are very strange indeed. And sometimes, even after you explain it, they'll still think you're very strange. Some of them to the point that they don't want to see you again and they talk bad things about you. Sorry about that. That's just the way it is. But just because people talk bad about you doesn't mean you're bad. Because you remember they talked bad about Jesus too. Right? And so if you're in his company, you're in good company. Okay, so this is the explanation I give to people that want to know. I tell them I use two basic methods to find out what's wrong with you. One is by asking questions, and the other is with muscle testing. With asking questions, I am appealing to their conscious mind, right? By muscle testing, I'm appealing to their subconscious mind. While doing muscle testing, I'll have you hold your arm straight out to your side, and you are to resist me pushing your arm down. The test is based on the fact that your brain knows everything about your body, even though you may not be consciously aware of it. If I call attention to a weak organ, or if I say something that's not true about your body, then your brain will temporarily weaken all your muscles so that you will not be able to hold your arm up when I push on it. I always have my test samples right here where I can reach them. I got long arms and I got lots of samples. I say also, see this test sample? Each one of these herbal samples have an electromagnetic field around them, and it goes right through this plastic or glass container. So that if I'm touching this and touching you, or if you're touching this, and this will help your condition, then that will strengthen your muscles and you'll be able to resist me pushing down. That way I can tell which product is the best for you to take and how many you should take and when you should take it and all those things that are necessary to get you started on your road to recovery. I also like to tell them muscle testing is not infallible. There are many things that can mess it up. Usually, though, I can catch most of these problems because I do this all the time for quite a number of years now. And even realizing that some things can mess it up, it's still the best tool that we have. Much better than going to the hospital and taking thousands of dollars worth of tests, which may or may not do anything to discover what is your real problem. And then I don't usually push on people's arms, because if you've seen my list of test statements, you know that both the person being tested and myself would be utterly worn out if I used that method. So I have found that using my fingers, rubbing them back and forth, and maybe you can hear it. Can you hear that? Can you hear that in the back? All right, so that's vibrating. Now if I turn my hand over, it won't vibrate anymore, it's sliding. Can you hear the difference? Okay, so it should catch and release, catch and release, like going over that little rumble strip at the edge of the road, or it should be more or less smooth, like sliding on the ice. All right, got it? So I'll show them that and tell them that that's so that I'm not wearing them out. And I tell them, in order for me to do this, I need to be touching you. I'm using my brain now and my muscles instead of yours. If I use this method, then later on, after we've learned some things about the person, I would usually demonstrate with their own arm that they have a problem in a certain area, and then that this particular product will give them strength and will help them. All right, so we're going to need now to talk a little bit about polarity, because polarity needs to be right if your muscle testing is going to be correct. And so basically, polarity is the organism's attempt to maintain its electromagnetic individuality and integrity, thus maintaining its distinction from its electromagnetic environment. Now, if you didn't follow all that, that's okay. In other words, each person is a magnet. And the head is supposed to be pointing toward the North Pole, or drawn to the North Pole, and the feet are supposed to be drawn to the South Pole of the Earth. And it's this, we have our own personal magnet in our pineal gland, and this allows us to properly relate ourselves to the Earth. And if your magnet is strong, then you'll be properly related to the Earth. If your magnet is weak or jumbled, then you will have trouble following directions and knowing where to go, keep from getting lost, and you may be emotionally confused as well. So polarity is very important, even if you're not learning to muscle test. But if you are muscle testing, it needs to be right in you, and it also needs to be right in the person that you're testing. Otherwise, your answers will either be reversed or confused, vacillate back and forth. So in order to determine polarity, we push down on the person's arm with their palm on top of their head. Now, the back of the hand is North Pole, the bottom part is South Pole, North Pole. If I put South and North together, that attracts or strong. We put North and North together, and it repels, and it makes the person weak.